Hello guys, this is Rob with Tech, bringing you another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install Pi-hole and Unbound in the same Docker container. Please bear with me because this is going to be a lengthy tutorial. I'm going to try my best to explain everything, but it involves us creating our own Docker image file. But you might need to look into my other Pi-hole video just so you can get the gist of the whole configuration. But I'll try to kind of explain everything as we go. I did get myself a new microphone, so hopefully now I do sound a lot better than I sounded before. Um, so I'm gonna be pasting this URL link. So that's the link that I followed here for the Unbound installation for Pi-hole. And basically what you need to install is gonna be the Unbound service. But the thing is, since it's containers, you need to build your own and add the Unbound to it. Um, this would be the configuration file that you have to create under this directory. It's going to be running on port 5335, which this is important. And then after you get it installed and running, we can do this test, make sure that it actually does the local DNS queries. We also need to add this packet max equals 1232. We need to do it on this configuration. And also to test the validation, right? So this one's supposed to fail, not give you any APs, and then this one should give you the feedback. Then we do the final configuration changes on the Pi-hole web configuration. So first we're gonna go to Open Media Vault, and I'm gonna try my best. I know that everybody has their setup differently, right? But if we go to storage, it's gonna give you a little insight, and then shared folders. This is all my folders that I have. So today I'm going to be doing the Pi-hole on this data. I'm sure this should like resemble what any other of you all have, like a data and extract folder. So this is what I'm going to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, right? So I always tell it's easier if you just copy this and just paste it aside on another notepad because you're going to need it. This is basically the absolute path. So it's just so even if your data folder changes from the device from dev SDB1 and changes to SDBC because it mounted differently, because you're using the absolute path, it's not going to be delinked. So remember, when we're going to create a new container, we're going to go to Docker Hub, and this is the one that we're going to be using, Pi-hole. And you go down here, you have the Docker Compose file that there, so you can create it. But in my other video, I outlined because we have to create a Mac VLAN, and I'm not gonna go through that on this video. But if you want to learn about that, I have another Pi-hole video where I show that. But you don't have to really know it as long as you understand. I'll try to explain it in a bit. So I already have this config in a different file configured that I just need to copy and paste in. So I will just do that and I'll explain it. So let me copy this. So we go back to Open Media Vault. Like I said, I'm going to use this data drive. I'm going to do services, compose file. All right, so before we create the compose file, we first have to create the Docker image, a Docker file and create our Docker image. And the reason that we're doing that is because we need to add Unbound to the existing container. So we go here on services, you go compose, and then you go into Docker files. Here you have the ability to create your own Docker files out of base images. So we're just going to do create, and this is going to be the name of your container, like the image name. So in my case, I'm just going to call it Pi-hole Unbound because that's what's going to be. And I could just put a description, right? I'm going to do Pi-hole with Unbound service. And then I'm just gonna paste this in and I'll just take you through it. So I already been working on this, trying to figure it out. But I already have it all good to go. So I'm just gonna paste it, but I'll describe what I'm doing. So here we're just telling the Docker file, like go ahead and pull Pi-hole latest, which this would just pull from this Docker Hub. So it's gonna be using this base image. And then we go back here. So this is telling it it's gonna be CLI like in the backend. Now here we're gonna do the run apt update. This was just run the apt-get update, will just update the base image that is going to be, this one's based on Debian, and then and then this backslash is just basically telling it to also continue to this line. So it's going to be apt-get install unbound. So this is what installs the unbound service to this Pi-hole image. Now you have to make some configurations on for the Pi-hole. So if you remember here, basically what I have in this file is the same thing that is here on this file, but I went ahead and put it in the Docker file, and that's why I'm telling you, just bear with me because it's a lot. But if you look at this path, right, we need to add all of this file that is right here into this directory. So you have to create the directory. So we go back, and if you look at it, right, so whenever you install the Unbound service, it'll create this directory, the unbound /unbound.config.d. So basically, while you doing the run t, it's just gonna create the file, the pihole.config, in this directory, right? So here you're gonna do this left pointing arrow, and then you're gonna do EOF. This what it is gonna do, is gonna open up like a file, like it's gonna copy everything into pihole.config, anything you put after this. So that's what you're gonna see. So all of the things that I have here from line 9, it's server, it goes all the way to here to line 75. So this is important, EOF, because that's when it tells you that it's end of file. So this, everything that you have in between from EOF to the other EOF is gonna add everything that it has in between to this pihole.config file, which is important because remember that this is part of the configuration. And this is important because whenever we start the container, we want to make sure the container starts in port 5335. All right, so let me see. So after we got that out of the way, we also, now we need to tell the container, like after we create the container, we're gonna tell it like start the Unbound service. Now I had a hard time here, but I ended up doing some searches and I was able to figure it out. So we're gonna create run. You have to do run touch. Touch just creates a file. So it's gonna create essentially the Unbound file. And yes, that's gonna be a blank file. And if you don't include it, it doesn't run. I'm not sure why it works like that, but that's how it works. Now we're gonna do a run, and then for mk directory, that's mkdir, this would create a directory, which will be like a folder, right? So it's gonna create the Unbound folder in this directory. Now we need to add one line or one word into that Unbound type, right? So that's gonna be run, then it's echo one shot. So that's just gonna add this word one shot, is gonna add it into this type. Like it's gonna create a file called type, and within that file is gonna have one shot. And this is important because it's gonna tell the script that it's gonna be a one shot script and not like a long shot. It's just the way on the coding for the x6 int, I think that's what it's called, that this is running. So after that, we're gonna have to include another configuration, that actual line that tells it to start. So we're gonna do again the run, and then it's T, and then you're gonna give it this path right here. Now this is gonna create this up file in this directory. And then remember the EOF, so it's just gonna add anything that is in between. So it's gonna add foreground echo starting Unbound, and then this is what actually starts the Unbound service, and then the EOF, and that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Now remember here, we're gonna do a pull and build. Well, first let's save the changes. So now that we have our Docker file, we're gonna go ahead and do a pull and build. So this is gonna pull the actual Pi-hole latest from the Docker hub, and like the one we specified there in the beginning. Now after you do this once, I mean, it's not gonna show all of this. It's just right now it's downloading the image straight from the internet, so that'll take a little while. If you look, it's like running the commands that we put, like the update, the install Unbound. All right, so it finished. Now, if you go to compose and you click images, you're going to see that we have this image here. It's called pihole-unbound. Now, this is important because this is the image that we're going to use for Pi-hole. We're not going to use the Pi-hole because we build our own image with the unbound service included, right? So Pi-hole-unbound. So we're going to go back to compose. We're going to do files. Now here, we're just going to go ahead and create. And I'm just going to call this one Pi-hole U or you know what, unbound. Now I'm just going to specify here. This is a description so I know what it is. Now here it's almost the same thing. I have another video, like I said, and I do recommend you to seeing that one because you can see what I wrote. But basically what you're going to do is that you go here on Pi-hole, and this is the compose file, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go back to the file and I'm going to paste it. Now remember that we need to modify the volumes is one of them that we need to modify. Also the other thing would be the network, since we need to make a Mac VLAN, and also this, right, the image. We're not going to use Pi-hole latest because we have our own. So we're going to use pihole-unbound, which is the name of the Docker file that we created. Now for name, I want to name it the same. So Docker name unbound, which is the same as this one. Now here, I am not going to use this one for DHCP server, but if you are, you can leave this, or that's fine. I'll leave it there. I don't think it's going to enable, since we're not going to enable the servers anyways. So I'm going to modify the information here based on how I had done it before. So right after host name, well, there's no host name. Right after image, we're going to add the host name, and I'm going to call it pihole-unbound. You can call it whatever you want. And then after that, we're going to create the network. So we're going to do networks, and then I'm going to call mine Pi Mac VLAN, I guess. I'll do that. Pi Mac VLAN colon, and here we're going to do IPv4 underscore address colon. Now this is going to vary on your install because in this case, I'm using, I know, like I have, the way I have my router set up is that from 10.2, because I use 10.0.0 networks, right? So from 10.0.0.2, I have it free all the way to 10.0.0.100. So in this case, I know 50, I don't have anything on there. So that's why I'm setting this IP address. Now, if you have on yours, it might be different, right? You might have 192.168.1. something, or 192.168.0. something. So I'm not gonna really touch base on how to create the static. I mean, there's a lot of guides on YouTube and on online how to create those statics. So that's where this is coming from my network. That's the IP address that you want to assign it. Now for the web password, we do need to include this. I'm just gonna do 123.128. I don't recommend you to use this, right? It's just for demonstration purpose, and I already have the time zone is there. That one's correct for me. I'm also gonna include server IP, which is the same one as this one up here. Now on the volumes, remember that I told you to copy the absolute path. So I have mine here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy that. Now remember, like I said, anything on the left side of the colon is what's on your physical and your actual hard drive, right? So in this case, I'm gonna do a copy my absolute path. So this is gonna create an etc folder, etc-pi-hole folder. But I'm gonna go ahead and add here just a pi-hole-unbound, and then I'll do the /etc. Now let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna remove this dash. I'm just gonna create. So basically what I'm telling is here is that this is the drive that I'm gonna use, and in that drive I have a data folder. Now this would automatically create a pihole-unbound folder, and also will create an etc folder, and then create the pihole folder for me. And basically in pihole is gonna see this directory. Now I'm gonna do the same thing for this one. I'm gonna paste it, and I'm also gonna do the same thing, right? Pihole-unbound. I mean, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's just that for me, it's a simpler like this. So again, this is basically gonna create. So I'm telling it what hard drive I'm on, and then there's a data folder in that hard drive, and then this additional stuff is gonna create the pihole-unbound, the etc folder, and the DNSMAQ.d directory. All right. Now those are the volumes. Now we need to go ahead and create the network. So you have to declare the network and then create it. So here I'm gonna do networks again, and then I'm gonna do 3 spaces. I forgot what I called mine. It's a pi mac VLAN colon. Make sure spacing, don't do tab, because every time you do tab, it messes with the syntax. So let's just always do like 3 spaces. Then we're gonna do driver. Then we're gonna tell it it's a Mac VLAN. And then we're gonna do driver underscore ops for options. Now here's the parent, that this is gonna be the interface that you're using. I know this is gonna be different on yours because I'm using a USB NIC. Now, in order for you to get this right here, you can just go to, let me save this and I'll show you. Okay, so it looks like I had already been testing with that one. I'm gonna do pihole w, like with unbound. I'll go ahead and change this also. Host name. Yeah, you're not gonna have to do that. It's just that I had already been messing with this. So I'm just gonna save this. Now, because in order to get this network, the parent, you can just go here to network right after it finishes saving. So you go network interfaces, and basically whatever you have connected. So in my case, the one that is connected is this one right here. So this is my parent. So yours might be MP9S0 or another one, right? So it really just depends what you have here. That's what you're gonna go ahead and put on your compose file. So we haven't finished with this one, so we're still editing this. So that's where I got the parent. After the parent, we're gonna go back to driver. Like, you have to make sure you have everything lined up the same. So this is gonna be config. It's gonna be subnet. This is gonna be different for you all if you have a different subnet, but this is just telling it what subnet I'm gonna be using. I think this doesn't belong here. We'll try like this. Then gateway 10.0.0.1, because that's my gateway. IP range. This is gonna, what this does is kind of creates a DHCP within Docker. But since I just want to use that 50 address, I'm just gonna do /32, and that'll create just the 50 address. Now that should be everything. Let's see if it works. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and click on it. We can do a check just to make sure everything's good. Okay, so we have an issue. Let me see. Okay, so the issue, I found it. So the spacing here was wrong. I had it like this, right? So you actually have to put a dash and then you space it. So it has to have this proper alignment. So make sure you guys don't miss that. And also here, this one was like this, and this one has to be right where the T is. And then the I has to be by the M. Now this should work. All right, so we click, we can use a check. All right, so that looks like it's gonna work. So we can go ahead and click the up. All right, so it created the Pi-hole installation. Now recall that this is using our custom Dockerfile image, right? So now if we go to the website, right? So in my case, it was the 10.0.0.50. That's what I used. And then that admin, you should get your Pi-hole. Now, if you open this was going to work. So I just did the 1 through 8, but I'm recommending that after you set a password, you can just go back in the file and you can remove the password field and the password would stay there. It's just FYI. So we log in, you can see this is working, but this is still not ready for doing the unbound. So we go back to the instructions. We still need to add this eDNS packet max equals 1232. Now, in order to do that, remember, look at this directory. This directory, etc DNS mask-q, this is actually on our files. So to do that, we need to jump on SSH into your server. Now, let me see if I could put this here in the bottom. Right, so you're just gonna do when you SSH, make sure you use root. So let me just switch to root. You don't have to do that as long as you connect with root to yours. So here I'm in the root account now. You're gonna do cd etc. Well, I got confused there. So going back, so I know I got confused right now, and so I'm gonna explain what happened. So if you look at the configuration, this is the etc DNS mask-q. Now if we go back to Open Media Vault and we edit our file, remember that we created on our volumes, we went ahead and created the DNS mask-qd. You see how we need to modify this, but we ended up creating the directory under this path, right? Data pihole-unbound etc. So this is where I got confused, but so I just wanted to let you guys know that. So if you do a cd and you just change to svr def, this would be the disk that you're using, which is your absolute path. And then I'm gonna do the data and then pi-hole, then etc dnsd. So now we should be in the directory, and you should see two files, the 01 pihole.config. If you do an ls, that will list the contents of the directory, and you should see that other 06 file. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this so I can go back to the instructions. Now here we're gonna do vim with a v for Victor, vim, and then we're gonna name it the same as they have it there, 99-edns.config. This is gonna open up the editor. You're gonna click the I button. Let me put this to the top. So if you click the I button, it's gonna go into insert mode. And here in the insert mode, you need to add what's in here. So it's a edns packet max equals 1232. Now to exit out of this, you're gonna click exit. So you see how it says insert here in the bottom? You click the escape button on your keyboard, then you're gonna do shift : and it's gonna open up this little colon in the bottom, and you're gonna do WQ, and that means like write and quit. So now we do an ls, you're gonna see that now it has that 99 config file. Now since we just added this, which is a good idea to restart our container. So go ahead and do that. We can just go back to our Open Media Vault. We can click it, click down. Now we can go ahead and hit the up. That should load in those config files for Unbound. Now the other thing is the testing, make sure that it's working right. Now, if you look at this, it wants you to test it locally on the on the actual container. So I'm going to show you how to connect to a container. So let me just cd just changes you back to the home directory. So I'm going to do Docker, and I just want to get the name right. So it's Docker PS. That's going to give me all my containers that are running. So we can see that this one's pihole-unbound. Now to connect to it, all you're going to do is going to run Docker exec, then -it. Then you're going to give it the name pihole-unbound, and then you're going to do bash. Now this, we SSH, basically we're consoled into our container. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit narrower, just because I can't see the commands on the back. And this is just so you can test it. Like if you can do you run a top command, top, and this will give you all the running services. And you can see here, one of the services here, you can see unbound. That tells you that it's actually running. Now to quit out of this, just click the Q, and that's will quit. Now we can do dig pi-hole.net. You're going to do at 127.0.0.1-p, and then you're going to specify the port. So -p is for port, so 5335. So here you see that it answered and it gave you an IP address, so that tells you that it is working, and the server was itself under 5335. Now we can go back down and we can test, make sure that the DNSSEC validation is working. So this is going to be the same thing. You're going to do dig and then fail01.dnssec.works. I'll paste a link to this document. I mean, you're gonna have to be copying all these config files anyway, so I'll put that in the description. And then I'm gonna do the same thing. -p 5335. Now this shouldn't give you a result. If it's working correctly, it shouldn't give you an IP or anything. It should just like fail. So it already took a while, so I already know it's gonna fail. All right, so you see how it says no connection timeout, no servers could be reached, which that is what you want. Now we're gonna make sure that it actually works. So we're gonna run the second command, dig DNSSEC.works at 127.0.0.1, which is your local host, -p 5335. Now this should resolve. So you can see that this one gave us this one right here, which would give us a response, and it came out of here. So that tells you that this is working. So the final step that you have to do is just change the Pi-hole settings here to this address right here, the 127.0.0.1 hashtag 5335. So to do that, we're going to go back to Pi-hole. I'm going to refresh since I had restarted the container. Just going to log in. We can just go to settings, DNS, remove the DNS that are there, custom, do the 127.0.0.1. Then you're going to do the number sign and then do 5335. Just going to go ahead and click save. Now we can go back to settings, click Flux network table. And that should be good. So now we go to query log. I shouldn't have any queries because I haven't queried anything. But if we go back to my command line here, I want to show you how you can test it. So you can do, if you open up command line or PowerShell, you can just do ns lookup, and then here you can specify your server. So I'm going to go ahead and do 10.0.0.50, which is my Pi-hole server. Server 10.0.0.50. There it is. So now I'm just going to do www.google.com. So you see that it actually gave me an answer. Now it's going to take a little longer than usual the first time because it's going to actually cache the DNS entry. So we do it again, it's going to be very fast because we already have it. Now we go back to Pi-hole and we hit query log. You can see that all the DNS queries that happen. So this is the IP on my computer right here, but you see how they were answered by localhost on port 5335. So instead, like if you wouldn't have modified the settings on the DNS here, you would see that the actual resolve was from Google. But that is all, guys. Hopefully I didn't confuse you all. I know this is a long tutorial. I try my best to explain everything, but you guys have any questions, just drop it down on the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe.